We're finally here at the end of my Indiana Jones series of reviews, which is crazy because we're still a month away at this point from the movie's the fifth one's release. But I am still incredibly hyped for that movie, and I just have other things I need to review after Indiana Jones is done. We'll be talking Mission Impossible. So yeah, let's get into Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This one's not good. Unfortunately. Which is not to say this is a bad movie. I actually think this is a fun movie. I actually, rewatching it this time, I surprisingly got really engaged with it. Right? Because last couple times I remember watching this movie, I remember vividly not liking it. Not like angrily so, just being like, ow, ugh. I still think this is still the worst Indiana Jones movie. It's not really a question of this. Is this the worst one? It definitely is. Even if you like the movie, I don't know anyone who's like, this movie's great. And I think that's the biggest problem with this movie is that it has built a little bit of a reputation of being worse than it is, and this movie's not actually as bad as it is, but it's definitely one of Spielberg's worst films. Um, this is a movie that has a lot of weird choices in it. Like the constant like thing with the golfers at the beginning is just odd. There's a lot of weird ADR delivery in this movie. There's a lot of weird filmmaking choices. Like, why does everybody look so clean in this movie? Like, what I liked about the original movies was they're all dirty and grungy and they have all this dirt on them. Like, that's what's nice about it is like you watch it and you feel like, yeah, they're actually in those locations. But now, because in this movie, like, everybody looks so clean and not dirty and grimy, it just doesn't. Sometimes it just really feels like our characters are just on sets, which is weird because, like, you know, Harrison Ford did a lot of his own stunts. There's a lot of things done to immerse you in the scenes, but just something about the way like the actual costumes were. They're not bad costumes. They're actually great designs, but just the way the color palette is of the movie. And that's what I mean by weird filmmaking choices. Steven Spielberg is an incredible director. Why is the color palette so weird in this movie? I can't understand why a legendary filmmaker like Steven Spielberg makes some of these odd decisions like that. Why is it that a lot of these weird ADR choices got in the final cut of the movie? Why did a lot of this stuff happen? I'm not really sure. It's kind of funny when he talks about Temple of Doom being his worst movie. I'm sorry, that's not true. It's probably Ready Player One or Hook or BFG, one of those three, and then it would be this one because, like, I definitely think this is probably the worst directed movie he's made, not the worst film overall, because I can't think of a film he made with just the weird amount of choices that are made in this movie. Ready Player One, at least, while not a good movie, like didn't have a lot of these weird filmmaking decisions and had some actually cool moments of direction. This movie does too. There's a lot of great action sequences, actually very memorable action sequences. I think most of the opening scene works. The nuke the fridge scene is a little ridiculous. Doesn't bother me as much as some people because I understand Indiana Jones does crazy stuff and gets out of situations. He's like Han Solo to me. I can buy it. Maybe for some other people you can't. I get it. Uh, and Shia LaBeouf in this movie, he's okay. He works okay in the movie. I just wish his character had a little bit more depth and would have had someone else playing the part because it does feel like a miscast for Shia LaBeouf, and I think everybody involved with this movie does regret casting him, but he's okay for what he's given at least. He's not like horrible to watch. Just definitely feels out of place. He's the most out of everybody in this movie who's giving a performance, like they're playing a character, he's giving a performance type thing, and it just doesn't work. um and I think Indy isn't given a lot in this movie, unfortunately. Like, I kind of look at Dial of Destiny, you see what's going on with his goddaughter. A lot of the dialogue and their exchanges in the trailers feels like what Shia LaBeouf and Harrison Ford should have had in this movie. There's a couple moments of that work, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough. And I feel like Dial of Destiny is probably going to be a good, like, kind of fix to a lot of this movie that didn't work. There being aliens in this movie, I think that's a little dumb for people to complain about. Because, I mean, here's the thing, religious artifacts, like, there's a lot of weird shit in these movies that doesn't always make sense. Even, and I just, you know, a lot of magical weird things. So aliens aren't that surprising. I also think about the fact that, like, there's a lot of books that have also had a lot of these weird things. These things have kind of been in Indiana Jones canon for years. Whether or not you choose to believe those books are canon or not, it's up to you. But I definitely think that there are a lot of things there. And yeah, I think that it's fine. I just wish the ending had more emotion and layers to it. I just didn't feel like it really worked. It was a movie that just kind of, I don't know, it's a movie that I can watch like a Transformers movie, like the first one, where I enjoy a lot of the set piece and action scenes, don't really give a shit about any of the characters and plot. And in fact, the plot and the characters are messy. Yeah, it's not great for an Indiana Jones movie to feel like a Transformers movie, but it kind of did. And now saying that, I also realize Shia LaBeouf's in Transformers and in this movie, so I guess that comparison's pretty apt, to be honest. But yeah, I really had fun with me in this movie. I mean, John Williams' score is always incredible. That's something I really haven't talked about enough in these movies. John Williams' score is incredible. And, the action scenes are good. Harrison Ford's great. A lot of the stuff that you expect to be good is good, but then there's a lot of things that you don't, that you just expect to be good that isn't, and it just makes for a very clunky movie, very confusing movie overall, even though I still love this movie somewhat. I think all the Indiana Jones movies I have some kind of love for, but this is definitely like the weird, ugly stepchild. I remember I was talking to someone at work who was like, she's like, should I watch all of them? I'm like, yeah, they're all 10 out of 10s. Alright, I'll go watch all 4. And then I was like, shit, I forgot about the 4th one. Because it's like, I don't hate this movie like some people. I just forget it exists because, to me, like, even the memorable parts of this movie aren't up there with the original movies. And I just like to imagine in my head that this is just one awesome trilogy and maybe one awesome 5th movie coming out. Hopefully, dear God, please be good. Because I will literally be brokenhearted if it's not.